I produced a knife and I amputated his thumb.
Did you feel any remorse?
I'd be lying if I said yes. A disgusting philosophy that we had. Once you show your gun, you use it. So I produced my gun and I shot him and I shot the other gentleman that was with him as well. They gave me a recommendation of 7 and I ended up doing 22 years and 3 months. A person's throat got cut. They accused me of doing it, even though I had 109 witnesses. She stabbed her boyfriend multiple amount of times. What does the judge say to her? He says that I do not want to spoil your career. So he gave her community service.
What? You've seen how the Blue Tick Show has been put on the map, the world's fastest growing show. Let's put your brand on the map. The Blue Tick Show is now doing over 1 million views a month. Your business could be seen by an extra 1 million people every single month. Get in touch now to advertise your business. info@thebluetickshow.com. If you're looking for brand awareness, message us now. Let's do something together. Limited space available, so get in touch as soon as possible. Be in touch. One of the team will get back to you. Let's see how quickly we can get your brand to #1. What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the Blue Tick Show. Opposite me today, I've got Yousef Dwayne Patterson. He was sentenced to 22 years behind the door, and he had to do all of it. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you very much for having me as well.
Listen, one of my good brothers recommended getting you on the show. And then yesterday you sent me over the voice note of your story and I was in shock. I thought I need to get you on my show. Your story is probably different to any other guest I've had on the show. So it's a pleasure having you on my show. And I want to hear about your full life story.
Okay, thank you. But before we start as well, can I just say a few words?
Of course you can.
I'd like to say, in the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, all praises is due to Allah. We praise him, we seek his aid and we ask for his forgiveness. Whoever Allah guides, none can misguide him, and whoever Allah leads astray, none can guide him. I bear witness that there is none worthy of worship but Allah, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is his slave, servant and messenger. I would like to mention one thing also. There was a story, and it goes to our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He had a female camel. It was called Kazwa. And so it used to race other camels.
Okay.
And he always used to win. One day, the camel lost. And all the Sahabas were upset by this. That's the companions of our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam at that time. And they were like, how was this possible that the Prophet's camel actually lost the race? And you know what our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said? He said that what man wishes to raise or man raises, Allah lowers. So what I would actually say to you as well is that we're not here to try to glorify anything. We're not here to try to raise our status. I'm actually here to just articulate my testimony. And then hopefully through there that we can also receive some benefits in the sense of this allowing people awareness. Because I'm a true believer as well that only through awareness can the process of change begin.
So I've got a question for you before we do dive into our podcast. What made you say that at the start of the podcast?
Because for me, it's just like having a foundation. Now, you heard about the story of the man that built his house upon the sand and the man that built his house upon solid foundations. And for me to mention the words of my Lord and my beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that's having firm foundation. It also keeps me grounded. So any kind of ego, any type of seeking fame and glamour, this humbles me.
Are you a revert?
Yes, that's correct.
When did you revert?
So I was, I'll tell you my story, but when I was basically 16 years of age.
Okay.
And it was a very good Bangladeshi brother by the name of Jamman. We used to call him Jamman, but his name is No Ahmed. So yeah.
Okay, well listen, I'm sure we're going to get into all of that in the story today.
Definitely.
But let's dive into you a little bit. Talk to me a little bit about your childhood, your upbringing. Where are you from?
Yeah, so I'm actually from South London. I was originally from Clapham Junction, and then I moved to Wandsworth Road. Wandsworth Road is a very long road. So you could say it starts from Vauxhall all the way down to Clapham Junction. I came from a particular estate. It was called Patmore Estate. which was, has been in past years being kind of very notorious in the sense of, unfortunately, young men losing their lives, the kind of crime rates and things that was actually happening.
Was you involved in that as a child?
Obviously, eventually, I'll tell you my story. But yeah, definitely, I played a large part, unfortunately. But I've always said to individuals as well that condemnation without investigation is the height of ignorance. So before sometimes you actually condemn someone as well, you have to also understand their story and understand the reasons why they may have behaved in the fashion that they behaved in. And for me, I started because I ended up as a victim. I was minding my own business. I was going to the shops, and obviously my mother, she had a good job. So she would provide us with good things, plus my father as well. And these young individuals felt that it was okay for them to try to take my coat, which I refused. And I ended up being set upon. So from there, so having not the ability to defend yourself, asking for help and nobody's helping you, I decided to take matters into my own hands. So especially in my generation, in my times as well, we was always taught that you go for the biggest one. You go for the one that has the most reputation when you make a stance.
Yeah.
So I reached the stage in my life as well that I would rather die on my feet than live on my knees. So I demonstrated what I honestly believe at the time was defending myself and standing up against bullies, but I took it to extremes. And then from there, I built up a reputation where that it just continuously.
Talk to us through that story. When they tried to rob you for your coat, what happened?
So I said no. They set upon me, so they were punching, kicking me, and so forth. I called for help as a child because I'm only about 10 years of age. Wow. So I'm asking, the general public to help me.
Yeah. Was this out in the public? Were people there as well?
Yeah, that's correct. It was outside near shops.
Wow.
So I was, and when you're that young as well, you look at adults as being your protector.
Yep.
So you'd think that somebody would come to your aid. Yes, me as an adult, irrespectively of how many youths, I would approach those youths and try to help that youth. But I can understand now being an adult why some adults may have been afraid, seeing such a large number, mass scales of youths.
How many people were there?
There was a lot. Because especially in those times, especially when you're so young as well, they were slightly older, you tend to hang around in large groups. It's only when you eventually get older that you start to separate and you have like subgroups within groups. Yeah. Because now it's not about bringing attention to yourself and having so many. Like there could be, when you're kids, there could be about 50 of you, but then by the time you're in your late teens, it results into about 4 of you or so. Only when you're partying or going out, you're showing off whatever ill-gotten gains that you may have obtained, that you just want to show them, look what I have.
Oh, definitely. And then obviously, when you was asking for help, no one come?
Yeah, so in my mind, I saw that as, okay, now I understand what I need to become. It's survival of the fittest. But now being older, I understand that survival of the fittest is just a mere justification for, oppressing and destroying people much weaker than ourselves. But at that particular moment in time, I didn't see that. I said, I knew then that I needed to be an apex predator. It didn't make any sense because I tried to avoid these young people for such a long period of time. And it was like the saying is, you can run, but you can't hide. You have to sometimes face your demons. So then I had to face my demons. So they opened up the Pandora's box and there was no turning back after that.
They brought out a side of you that they didn't want to bring out, basically.
Yeah, even myself, I didn't know was capable.
When you went home and you was obviously beaten, what did your family say?
My mum took me to the hospital.
It was that bad?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say that marks and, the only reasons why I have kind of quite a sharp memory of it is because of what my mum said to me some years back. So she said, remember, son, when you said that it will never happen to you again? And I said, oh, is it, Mum? And she said, yeah, that's what you said to me. It will never happen. But it was very sad. As you know, as you're aware as well, my brother, you know, he brought me down here as well, my older brother. And my older brother at the time was a protector as well. But he also understood the whole kind of social dynamics. And this is why that he's now such a great, not only youth worker, but social worker and so forth, because he understands the whole dynamics. And even he used to say to me, even though he was young himself as well, that you need to stand up for yourself. We can't keep on bailing you out.
Yeah.
You know, you need to stand on your own 2 feet. Because it was different. Yes, I had fights in schools and so forth, but you know, it's like, I've always described it like this. It's like having a domesticated cat fighting a wild cat. Who do you think is going to win?
Yeah.
So the kids outside are wild, while the other kids inside is domesticated. You know that irrespectively, it's going to get stopped. You're not going to get stabbed. You're not going to... It's just...
It's like having a boxing match and a street fight. It's
100...
two... One has rules that can protect you. The
That's
other
right.
is last man standing, basically.
And definitely, and you have to be aware of your surroundings as well, that even if it wins to your favor as well, that there might be a chance or likelihood as well that his friends are going to jump in and so forth. So you need to make sure that you're fully protected as well, and you understand the whole dynamics of what's going on. So even from that young age as well, I understood that life can be so cruel.
So when you said to me, it opened Pandora's box and you knew there was no turning back, what did you mean by that?
Yeah, so what I meant by that was that, okay, so is this what the currency that we're exchanging? Then I'm also going to make sure that I become a trader as well, but it's going to be a trader in violence.
And how did you make that switch?
I think I was, to be fair, sometimes they say as well, when a man has his back against the wall and he's in front of the firing squad, there can be two things. He can either close his eyes and hope for the best, or he can actually embrace what's going to happen and try to find a way out. And that's what I basically done.
And what did you do?
I kept my eyes fully open and I said, okay, let me find an angle. So yeah.
So did you get your revenge on them boys that tried to rob your jacket?
Oh yes, one of them, I won't mention names as well, you know, we became very good friends with a lot of these individuals as well, obviously through time and so forth. But the one that I identified as the leader as well, obviously I saw him, I observed his movements. I had a rounder's bat. In my times at school as well, used to have rounder's bats. Okay. I had one and I went into him, resulting in him being injured. And then obviously his parents came to my mum's house, was complaining, look what your son's done and so forth.
Did your parents know that was the guy from the jacket situation?
I think so. I think my mum had the indication, but she knew that at times as well, especially like, you know, with parents, it's very funny as well, because every parent would look at their child as actually being innocent.
Yeah.
And no, it can't be my child. No, my child is not a bully. No, my child is like this. I know that, but they don't sometimes understand what their child may be keeping up with once they're actually outside and back in the community. So it was just like, my mum knew that, oh yeah, he had a bad temper. But this is what I felt, that my father was protecting me. He knew that it would only take an instant like that would actually flip me up. You know, I would say flip you over to the dark side.
Yeah.
Because he knew that my temperament, my mentality, just the way that I was, that once that Pandora's box is open, then it's going to be very hard to close that. And unfortunately.
So from then onwards, you, like they said, went to the dark side?
Yeah, because then what tends to happen is you develop an appetite for blood. So, you know, we say like you become like a bloodsucker. So now you're starting to challenge other, you know, tough youths from different areas, and you're doing the same process. But little do you understand that you become the very thing that you say you would never become.
You become one of them.
That's correct. So you go through the same kind of process. So some people pose a question, yeah, but look at me, I came from the same area as you as well, and we've never turned out like how you've turned out. And I say this, it's like a fisherman that casts his net into the ocean. is it right for the few fishes that got away to turn around to the other fishes that got caught in the net to say you were stupid for being caught? Sometimes it's by mere luck, and by consequent that the reasons why they're not also in that net.
No,
so I say to people as well that sometimes pay a closer attention to what's really going on.
No, definitely, it does make sense. So you obviously, that incident happened when you was 10 years old. What age did you obviously start becoming what word should we say, the other version of yourself?
Okay, I would say that it actually started younger than that, because I always had a temper. So I was always an individual that I just felt that it's, how can I describe this? That supporting the underdog.
Okay.
So I always felt the urge that I needed to stand up and be counted. If I felt that there was something wrong, then I needed to say something. And especially in those times, when you're a child as well, let's be honest, because we're children here, you have high levels of testosterone. So they don't want to back down who you're talking to. And then obviously it results into fisticuffs.
Everyone's got a massive ego as well.
Of course, you're engaging because you don't know yourself. You're still developing. So the teachers knew that I had the ability to learn. They, in their words, not my words, they've always said that I was highly intelligent. But the only thing was that I had a bad temper. So a lot of the times as well, I was always excluded from the main populace. So what I mean by this is by partaking with other activities with kids, because they felt that I couldn't get along with other children. And that weren't the case. But it's just that I stood my ground, they stood their ground, and sometimes situations happen. But I think that, especially as Muslims as well, we know that everything happens for a reason. And it prepared me for later life when I ended up spending 7 years in solitary confinement. All those moments in my life where that I was excluded, you could say, or kind of in isolation has built my character in order for me to have that kind of inner strength in order to survive that what was supposed to be the real testing ground for me in later years. So it kind of prepared me, kind of built me.
To be alone kind of thing.
Yeah, it was character building.
And when you said you spent 7 years in solitary confinement, that weren't the first time you got arrested, right?
No.
That was the second.
Yeah, that's due to my second incarceration.
So talk to us about the first time.
Okay, so my first...
Because that was at a very young age.
Yeah, that's correct, yes. So what they say in their report writings was that, it was in 94. It was 93, because I remember I was 13. I'm a year older. And it was a young man as well. I don't want to really make his family relive through those experiences as well. I didn't really like him and his brother. And I think it's just, it's horrific, and it's definitely frightening for a parent to ever know that your child has got injured in that kind of horrific way. But I approached him, and you know what you do when you're younger as well, signs of intimidation, what have you got? Then I produced a knife, which then you try to always find justification. So that's why you start with the intimidation, because you want to try to justify something, what your next move is going to be. And then I produced a knife, and I amputated his thumb.
This video is sponsored by Cranbrook Law, an award-winning immigration law firm. Their talented solicitors can help when any struggles arise regarding immigration law. They can help get you the visas they need. They can help get you the staff you need from any other countries. As you can see, the website is on the screen right now. So if you need anything to do with immigration law, message Cranbrook Law and let them help you. Whether you're looking to obtain a sponsor license, receive advice and guidance in relation to compliance and our civil penalties, or take advantage of our know-how and experience across a broad range of business visas, our talented and dynamic immigration lawyers are available to speak to you. Telephone numbers on the screen, emails on the screen, and hit the link in the bio if you need any help. Wow. At 13 years old?
Yeah.
He was very young.
No, definitely.
How did you get caught?
Obviously at the time, we're kids here. So people they know names. And his parents, they knew my family. And obviously, so they mentioned my name, and then the police came and they arrested me.
Did you believe you wouldn't get caught for it?
I wasn't even thinking. You're so young as well. We're not, let's be honest. Sometimes people like to exaggerate their stories as well. Are you going to be a massive criminal mastermind at the age of 12, 13, 14, 15?
Yeah, you just about know your name at that age. Literally.
Of course, you're still being taken to your mum, like, for appointments and things like that. You're considered as a kid, even though you may feel like you're an adult or you try to behave in that way, but you're a child. That's the truth. That's just the reality of the situation.
Was your family shocked when the police come to the door?
Of course, because you have to also understand my family dynamics. I come from siblings of 5 brothers and 9 sisters.
Big family.
And none of them has ever been in trouble with the law. So none of my siblings have ever been incarcerated. So ain't that a testament to my parents? But then individuals will say, no, it has to stem back from their parents and so forth. But if that's the case, then why haven't any of my brothers or my sisters? We came from the same area. So if that's the case, then there should be a problem within the whole family dynamics.
Oh, definitely.
But it was not. So this is, I found that in the past as well, this is what's actually baffled psychologists. But it shouldn't really be a baffling situation, because I explained to you step by step what occurred in my life and the reasons why. I was a person that liked education. I was a person that liked studying. I was a person that liked to mingle. But if I felt that somebody who I liked, or even somebody who I believed that was in a weaker position than myself, was being suppressed, oppressed and depressed, then I felt that it was my duty or my obligation to defend that person.
So where do you think your temper come from? Because obviously I've heard through interviewing people, everyone says it's from the family, upbringing. But like you're saying, you've had 9 sisters, 5 brothers, and not one of them have been involved in the police. So I can't sit here and say, oh, your family done a bad job raising you or anything like that. Where did the temper come from?
Well, I like to refer to something because we like to refer to, like with psychologists, they refer to, their books like Maslow, Skinner and so forth. What do we refer to? We refer to the Quran. And what does the Quran say as well? He says that the sons of Adam has been created from what? Many different earths. So some are smooth, some are rough.
Yeah.
So we know the temperament of human beings are different. We know that we've got friends that are quite quick-tempered. We have other friends that are mild-mannered. It's human nature.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true.
So
not all of us are going to be the same. That's why I said I like doing podcasts. Every story is different.
Yeah, you said that.
But your first day when you got arrested by the police, how did you feel?
Do you know, looking back now, I feel that it's quite alarming. And I'm not trying to play victim here because I committed my crimes. So I'm not saying to the public viewers here that, look, I am innocent. Yeah. You need to have pity on me. I'm saying that, look, I committed my crime. But as what my brother once said to me as well, 2 wrongs don't make a right.
No, definitely.
And so what he meant by this is that, okay, I committed my crime, but you follow a policy, you follow a rule. And this is what you say that you live by. It's your civil duty to do this. And at the time, when I look back now, a lot of the things that was actually happening to me, which has hardened us to later years, is actually nowadays, it's called child abuse. Because as soon as I got arrested, they put me in a cell. I can remember that. I'm not supposed to be in police custody. I'm not supposed to be in the cells, in the police station. Things such as this, but because of the era and the times that we lived in, certain things that we know now that are totally unacceptable was kind of semi-acceptable.
Yeah.
Because they had a philosophy that children should be seen but not heard. Oh yeah, it's okay. Well, if you do the crime, you do the time. This type of mentality, not knowing that it doesn't work, because we know this. Let's go back historically. Let's go back to the Victorian eras where they used to say that, yeah, lock you up and literally throw away the key until you serve your time and then you come out. What did they say about these individuals? They came more ruthless once they were back out in society because they knew they had nothing to lose.
They adapt to it. Everyone can adapt to it.
100%.
Let me ask you a question. when you committed the crime, did you feel any remorse?
I'd be lying if I said yes, because I was young at the time. You're not understanding the magnitude of what you've actually done.
And what did the guy do? Let's call him the victim in this instance.
Of course.
What did he do to you? Because I'm sure there's more to the story. There's more. He's obviously done something for you to do that. I'm sure you didn't just wake up and say, okay, today he's getting it.
No, I just think it's... You see, as kids as well, do you know when you don't like somebody, you don't get along, there's always, like an undercurrent. So whether that's words, whether that, he's an idiot, or something like that. And as what you said, we have tremendous egos.
Yeah.
So if your name is being mentioned, or you're thinking that, he's a prat, I know he is. So, okay, what are we going to do? We're going to engage in gladiatorial contests. And that's all it was. But it's been so far back, I can't even sit here and try to justify that. I can't say that we were kids. But what I don't like about the, sometimes as well, about the criminal justice system sometimes, and it can be very difficult, because you have to also understand that as children, we've all made mistakes.
100%.
Yes, my mistake was very big, and I paid a lengthy price for that. And especially in those times, receiving 5 years. They waited until I was 15. I got convicted at 15. Now, you have to also understand that I was also a child as well. So sometimes when you're in front of the psychologist and they're doing reports, seriously, even they will ask you questions like, so he was a child. How did you feel? Oh, that's so horrendous what you've done. And I'm saying that I acknowledge that. I accept that it's definitely horrendous.
Yeah.
But let me ask you a question. How old was I? Oh, you was 13. You're talking like if I was an adult and I actually done that to a child or a minor.
Yeah.
We're both children. I'm not trying to justify it in any way. But you have to also understand the whole social dynamics. And then they will say, oh, he has no victim empathy. How?
Yeah, no, you're right.
So sometimes it can be difficult, but at the same time as well, we put our trust in God.
No, 100%. That's all you can do.
Definitely.
To be sentenced for 5 years at 15, they waited 2 years to sentence you. Why'd they wait so long?
I think it was also a sensitive case.
Okay.
And there was other things that were going on. So at that time as well, I went to secure units. So secure units were, because I was so young, so I went to Stamford House, I went to Orchard Lodge, and I also went to Vinnie Green. That's in Bristol. But I think they were happy. They couldn't wait until I hit 15 in order to send me to Feltham, because, again, the story of my life, I just kept on engaging in hand-to-hand combat with other young people. So irrespectively.
So in the secure units, it was trouble everywhere, basically.
Yeah, definitely. In Stamford House, I weren't actually on their secure part at first, initially. What actually happened was, on their compound, they had another section where that you was allowed to, as long as you was escorted by an officer, or they call staff member at the time.
Yeah.
I absconded. So I think I absconded for a couple of months, or I'm thinking, I can't recall. But during that time, I committed another offence, which was attempted robbery of an Abbey National. And I was given in 1996, I was given 3.5 years. Even though I was the youngest, I was still considered to be the ringleader.
How old was you?
So at that time, when I got convicted, I was 16.
When did they charge you for the previous crime?
Yeah.
Well, how did you work that one?
So
how did you do that one?
So what they basically, they used to do a system in place that they used to have what they call I think they call it TICs, whatever. So they will come around and try to close cases.
Okay.
So they would have footages, because remember, when you're young as well and you're absconding and you're jumping over, you used to jump over the counters.
Yeah.
They used to call it shabby in the Abbey. I know they called it steaming. They would obviously have a picture of you. If they don't know your name and so forth, then I think they would probably have somebody that would probably mention your name.
Yeah.
So when I was basically, They recognized who it was. There was a group of us. We got convicted for it. They came back to me saying that they believe that I've done more than this, and would I be able to help them close the case? Basically, basically to close these cases. These cases are open to close this case by admitting.
Yeah.
And the rule number one is that we don't admit to something.
No way.
That if you don't, so I politely declined. From that, it caused me a lot of problems. Even then.
What kind of problems it caused you?
When I was released after my 5 years of incarceration, I couldn't obtain a bank account.
Yeah, true. Yeah, they definitely didn't want you to have a bank.
I was blacklisted, and I was getting so frustrated. Look, my brother's here. He will tell you. I remember saying to my father as well, because my father's a very cool, calm individual. And he used to say, son, just have patience. And we know even in Islam as well, it teaches about patience. A peace of mind is obtained by being patient. But at that time, I didn't see it like that. I'm thinking, nah, I'm trying to get back to normality and they're not allowing me to. You're judging me. You're hung, drawed and quartered me. I'm not having this anymore. I'm trying to be the good guy. You're not allowing me the opportunity to. So, okay, I'll be that very thing that you fear the most. And that's how I was thinking at the time. Not understanding that, sometimes with these things, it happens that way. And just with time and patience. So, yeah. But prior before that, so let's go back a bit. So I went into secure unit. Eventually, they just had enough of me.
Just everyday fights, problems.
Yeah, there's always problems. But sometimes it's not. You're having troubled kids all across the country in one place.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's going to be problems. There's other emotional issues that are going on. We're still developing as young people.
Yeah, 15 years old as well. That's a young age.
So then I went to Feltham. That's when you understand what, as a young kid, what the concept of prison was. Because now you have not only a lot older, but these kids are hardened.
Yeah.
These kids are tough. There's a lot of bullying. So even when you go through the reception area and you collect your meal and you're sitting in one of the rooms and you're waiting to be allocated to a wing, already there's bullying going on. Already there's intimidation. So I knew from that point there that I needed to be even more ruthless. Irrespectively whether I won, lost or draw, I knew that I needed to stand my ground, or you're definitely becoming a victim in there.
Yeah, definitely.
So it was crazy. So it was like, how can I describe it? I would, the only way that I can describe it, I've not said this so many times, but it was a baby fight club. That's
Genuinely,
what it was.
Everyone was just, it was madness.
Of course, you rarely had time. Like, you have to also remember in our times as well, it was 23 hours you're locking up kids. Yes, until you get to a long-termers wing, then there's a bit more flexibility. You can go education and so forth if you play the rugby team and things such as this. But as you know, with young people already, that they find it very hard to be compatible with one another. So you tend to, as soon as they're out in association, there's always a fight. So we're always behind our doors again. So you're lucky if you got half an hour, not even that.
Did you not ever try and relax and think, you know what, enough's enough, let me try and just chill out?
You can, but then you have to also understand, being that age, being in the environment that you're in, it's not going to work. Because
you had 5 years of it. You weren't just there for like a 6-month thing where you thought, I'm going to show everyone I'm the toughest man in here.
No, it's not even that, because there was lots of kids that I could name you that were a lot tougher than me. So it's not even a thing such as that, I was the toughest kid, all the kids know me. No, young people knew me because, yes, I could defend myself and I could handle myself to a certain degree, and I wouldn't tolerate it from anyone. But there was lots of other kids that had bigger reputations and everything else as well.
No, of course, but I mean in the sense as you knew going in there, you're going to be in there for a long time.
But again, you don't understand the magnitude of it.
Yeah, true.
Because you're thinking, remember, we're young here. We're not thinking as adults now, where we're sitting down and we're analysing everything.
Yeah, you know what? I've got a 15-year-old little brother. And now when you just put it like that, thinking in his, like trying to put myself in his head, even if you're in prison at that age, you're not going to think like that. You're just going to be crazy every day. You're just trying to make time go quicker. It is what it is kind of thing. That's the attitude you're going to have in there.
No, of course. And you've got that kind of immature approach as well, that it's kind of exciting to see, okay, who's going to be fighting now?
Yeah.
And not only that as well, when you have adults around you that have a duty of care and a responsibility, and they're even encouraging you to settle your scores by having a fisticuff.
Really?
Of course. We used to go down to the gym and used to fight. That used to be one of the highlights of the day, going to the gym. That's how I got into boxing when I eventually was released, because the gym officer recommended that I should do boxing. So
You're knocking everyone out in there, so they said make sure you start.
No, it's not even knocking everybody out there. You know, you take your fair shares of loss as well.
Yeah,
see, that's one thing. You know, I find it intriguing as well sometimes when I listen to podcasts, not disrespecting anybody, because I don't use these platforms to try to criticize or try to question or put a mark under anybody's story. Your story is your story. Your truth is your truth. But haven't you noticed a theme that usually comes up? Usually, nobody ever loses. Nobody ever talks about their L's. Everybody talks about their wins.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
I can tell you, black eyes, you know, I've lost and so forth. But again, in those kind of situations as well, that when every other method doesn't work for you, then they show you the size of your heart. And that's what people liked and respect about me. Not only that, I was respectful. So yeah, and then eventually, you know, I'm one of the individuals that's been here for a long time. You build up good rapport and you have friends and there's a team of you. And, you know, you all feel like just love amongst each other. Like even our rugby team. Like if one of our rugby members were fighting, like everybody felt, you know, you feel obligated. He's one of us. He's one of our tribe. You know, he's from our community. So it was nice in that kind of sense. But it's kind of wrong. Looking back now, they actually, the education that we was receiving there was very harmful to us in later years, because what it was actually showing to us, what it was actually articulating to us was that when you don't like something that somebody says to you, then you resort into violence and extreme violence, just punch them in their face. But we know that it doesn't work outside, because what's going to happen is you're going to get rearrested. You're going to be incarcerated, and that's you. And people are going to look at you like an imbecile. People are going to look at you like you're just a Neanderthal.
You can't walk around the road. Everyone who don't agree with you, knocking them clean out. It don't work like that.
Of course. Or getting into fisticuffs, because let's be honest, especially because I do jiu-jitsu as well. A lot of people are not experts in fighting. I've been around experts. I train with them. Yeah. And these are some of the most humblest of individuals, even if somebody's in their face, because they know the capabilities. They know that the human body is very fragile, and it's very easy just to disconnect somebody, or, you know, someone's 36 points. Very easy.
Yeah, but that's through many years of training, right?
Yeah, of course. And even through me, like obviously I've done the transition to jiu-jitsu and understanding the body mechanics and so forth, and it makes you humble. Because there was one incident just recently as well that I was on the train and it was quite crowded, and so this gentleman's come on the train, so we've made a gap for him, even though there's rarely, you know, you're like sardines in a can, but I understand that everybody's trying to get home location. So I've stood at the corner, but he wants me now to move out of that corner because he wants that corner. So and you know what's so sad about it as well? This is another Afro-Caribbean gentleman, and we're, you know, this is not a race thing, but we're in an environment that we stand out. Mm-hmm. And you're coming to me with this rubbish. And I'm just thinking, come on, man. Like, I'm looking at him in like in a pleading way, like, come on, use your brain here.
Yeah, don't be stupid.
Don't you understand? Because they're all looking, and he's like, so I just gave it to him. I said, take it. It's no problem to me.
It's not worth it.
If you want me to stand here and you want to be there in that corner there, even though you know I'm in that corner, I will deliberately move myself, because why? Does that measure me as a man? If I stand my ground and we end up fighting and we end up both getting arrested, or something happens, or you end up getting injured, I end up getting injured, please take it.
Yeah. And listen, especially with what you've been through in your life, they're only going to blame you. They're only going to blame you. They're going to look straight away at the rap sheet. They're going to nick you straight away.
No, definitely.
It's not worth it, especially with. You said you've been out 14 months.
Yeah, 14 months. Yeah, that's correct, yes.
You're not going back. Let's stay on that path. It's
101%.
Definitely not worth it for a spot on the train. I'd rather take both spots. Take them both. I'll stand across the side. Guys, have you been thinking of move to Dubai? I've partnered up with Cranbrook Legal to make your experience so much easier. Literally, I got the main man from Cranbrook Legal right now to tell you how easy it is.
Guys, it's as simple as picking up the phone, giving us a call and letting us get on with the business.
What, literally, one phone call?
Literally one phone call, a few documents, and we're there.
And then I just get up, fly to Dubai, and I ain't got to pay tax no more?
Yeah, you can come and see us. We'll take you out for a meal, show you Dubai, and then it's all up to you after that.
Bro, where do I sign now?
And not only that as well, we can't serve two masters. It's either one or the other. I remember the Imam, he made because he was leaving, and I think we was in Full Sutton at the time, and he made a beautiful speech, and he says that, look, brothers, there's only two camps, haq or batil, truthfulness or falsehood. He said you can't serve two masters. Yeah. It's one or the other. Some people like to dance on the line, thinking that, it's okay. It's either, am I a Muslim or am I a gangster? Am I going to say to the world and the public now that, I was a hard man and this and that? Or am I going to say that, yes, I've made mistakes in my life, but I'm here now to try to reform myself. I'm trying to make changes and differences because I understand the disease. I once had that disease.
You're a strong believer in the Islamic faith. You're clearly a Muslim.
No.
And you said you reverted at 16.
Yeah, that's correct, yes.
Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so...
because that's a massive part of your life now.
Of course it is. I've always been a person as well that within my family as well, my father's Rastafarian, 12 tribe, and my mother is Christian.
Okay.
And, my grandparents come from different Christian denominants. So whether that's Catholic, Jehovah, Church of England and so forth. So I've always been an individual. I was an altar boy. So I used to read passages from the Bible and, visit old people's homes and just give them some comfort by reading, passages from the Bible. But I was always inquisitive as well. I always asked questions. And you remember, in my times as well, some of our elders, they had this philosophy as well, is that children are supposed to be seen but not heard. So even sometimes you would pose difficult questions for them to answer as well. They will get into, kind of like a huff and a puff, and it's like, it is what it is. It says what it means, but no, I would like to understand more. Yeah. And it just there was no disrespect to anyone, but it just weren't giving me the answers that I needed. Even when I went to church, the priest and everything else. Now with Islam as well, it's funny because at the time, this brother now, alhamdulillah, I feel that I've wasted my time because he's on such a level of knowledge now. I've reconnected with him and his knowledge is sky high. It's like, so all praises, to Allah first and foremost and may Allah, bless him and his family. Yeah. But at the time, he's a Bangladeshi brother. We called him Jam Man because he always found a way. He was playing pool. If he was playing table tennis, he just finds a way of winning. And it was annoying. Yeah. But we were very close. And he would articulate his belief system, but in his way. Because remember, he was a young man of the streets at that time. So he would explain it to his version of his understanding. And to me, looking back, even though the way he articulated, but it still made sense to me. And then obviously I went to the mosque, I explored more, and then I took my shahada.
Did that change you as a man?
It did. It got me thinking more about life and my direction. But at that time as well, we have to understand the whole dynamics. It's not as the Islamic community weren't as connected as it is now. Like I've been shown so many love by different brothers and different brothers and sisters from all different parts of the world in the sense of culture wise.
Yeah.
But in those times, it's like they're all stuck with their own kind of community. And like with us as Caribbeans, we were kind of at the bottom, it felt. And even when I was released from my first sentence and I went to the mosque, it was like they don't want to do ankle to ankle with you, shoulder to shoulder. And you're just thinking, what is this?
Because we're being Muslims,
we're being taught the pure essence of what Islam is about. But then I understand that, you know, through my own studying and education as well, that a lot of these individuals are ignorant as well. You need to also understand they've been breastfed on certain notions and ideologies that are more cultural based rather than religious based. So sometimes they're also a victim of that same thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Because they know no better.
No, definitely.
But you only get to understand that when you're older. At first you're just thinking that's a disrespect. And again, that's what these young people say now is a violation. Yeah. So you're thinking, stuff you. Even though I believe what I believe, but until then, let me go back to those that are embracing me with open arms. And that was, unfortunately, the streets. But by then, the whole dynamics have changed. Because a lot of individuals don't understand, even a year away from being on those estates, the whole dynamics changes so dramatically. So being away for so long, kids are laughing now. You know, the young people are laughing now. I'm 18. What? You're bringing your fist or knife to a gunfight.
Yeah, it changed.
Yeah, I'm just gonna shoot you. I've got no time for this. So you're thinking, okay, we'll level up. Obviously. Also, is this what the currency is now? Is this what you're actually doing?
Yeah.
Okay. I will play your game. But we don't understand the mindset though. And it's kind of sad because I had time to, you know, sit down and reflect. And one of the books I read was, I call it the Josiah Henson syndrome. And who Josiah was as well, he was the slave master's most trusted slave.
Okay.
So in America. So what he would actually do as well, he would transport slaves from any state that his slave master would instruct him to, you know, to go to attend. And the weird and funny thing about this was, and the sad and demoralizing thing was, that sometimes he would enter a state where the slaves were now free. And so the slaves will say that, look, you're a free man now. Why don't you, don't listen to that monster. Don't listen to that barbaric human being. Come, just be free. He will say, no, sirree. He says, master loves me and I love master. He was so conditioned. He was so confused. Then they will say that, okay, at least, look, release some slaves. He said, no, sirree. Master trusts me and I trust master. So this is the mindset. And a lot of us as well, unfortunately, especially from my culture, the Afro-Caribbean, we have this mindset that, don't you understand what we're doing? We're like this Josiah Henson. We're actually transporting our own people to destruction. Because all these things are what? It's just killing our community. Yeah. It's poisoning our community. And what we're saying is, we're saying that, no, sirree, we love them. They love us. And it's crazy. Because some of these young people are not seeing what we had to live through as well. And even myself as well. I kick myself because I've caused a lot of hurt and pain as well. But at the same time, as what one young man said as well, you could forget the streets, but the streets don't forget you sometimes. So I totally understand that. But there's opportunities, as we know, even in the Quran as well. The man that killed 100 people, and he now wanted repentance. And what did God instruct him to do? What did the man of knowledge instruct the man to do? Was to remove himself from the people that committed all these atrocities and go to another town and city where that they were peaceful, God-fearing people. So what does that teach us as well? What's the advice and the instructions that we should take on board as well? That we should also remove ourselves. But sometimes we get so caught up, and it's kind of so sad as well, because you need to understand the whole kind of dynamics and what's really going on. And a lot of us, we're walking around with our eyes closed. We've become zombies.
Yeah, that's true.
We're living and breathing zombies. And that's it. And it's so sad. We're fighting over things that we have no authority over. It's not even like fiefdom, where you can say that, well, this is my castle, this is my city, and I'm fighting to defend my city. You own nothing. You own nothing at all. They're laughing at you. They're saying, look at these fools. So this is the reality of our situation, and it's just it's very sad and it's heart-rendering. And I made a promise to myself, and again, let's go back what I said, that a lot of the young guys don't understand certain concepts. When I was younger, I remember even going to school. We used to go past this pub. And you remember this, you're 11 years of age. Because I was excluded. I was excluded from school when I was 12. And that's another thing that we need to be aware of. And I'm going to articulate this in a second. So we used to walk past this pub.
Yeah.
And you know, you'd have them skinheads, tattoos, and so forth, and they always used to make the monkey noises, like, you know, ooh, 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 ooh. And then we used to, you know, like, you know, stick our fingers up in there, give chase. They start chasing you. But you know, these guys, they sit there all day drinking. They're big bellies. They're trying to run after you. They can't catch you. You're quick, and so forth. But now looking back, I'm saying it's sad, because I'm not trying to put a certain culture under spotlight, but no one can ever say that you would see a group of Afro-Caribbean men, grown men, chasing 11-year-old white kids because of their race. I've never heard of it ever in this country, but the other way around, it's always been apparent. And it's sad, and we need awakening, because, for example, how does it start as well? I was excluded permanently from the age of 12.
What did you get excluded for?
Again, the story of my life. Fighting, yeah. But you know, the weird thing about it as well was, these were older kids that were bullying me. And it was weird. And yeah, I'm not gonna justify it, because I also contributed as well. And, you know, even times my brother had to say, nah, that's enough, man. They're older. And my brother came down and, you know, my brother said, listen, you're not troubling my brother. Then I became very popular. You know, when schools, when your cousins, your older cousins, your brothers come down and everybody's running around. Oh, look, yes. Because nobody believed me at first that, I've got older brothers and so forth. And then when they came eventually, it was just like, enough's enough. Wait there, you lot are older. And we're not having this.
That's wrong.
So, and I've always said that the destruction, what is the problem? Because people pose questions to me as well. What is the problem? And I agree with what one professor said as well. He said this: miseducation and economic castration. I totally agree. Why do I agree? Look, think about it. Miseducation. So you're excluded.
Yeah.
Now, you don't have the qualifications in order for you now to facilitate the type of lifestyle that you want. And that starts entering economic castration. So you can't, because they're saying that you're not qualified for that. You haven't got the qualifications. So then what's your options?
The streets.
And this is where the trap lays. So then you become there's a particular word in the dictionary, it's called capon. So that's a male castrated chicken that has been fattened up for sacrifice. And that's what you become.
Okay.
A capon. That's it. That's a male castrated chicken that's been fattened up.
But I think it comes down to there's plenty other reasons behind that as well. I don't think education is always the only reason. Because in your case, obviously, upbringing wasn't. That was down to the things you experienced in your life has resulted in why you done the actions you done. We can't blame your mum and dad, because from track record, they've done a great job.
100%.
But there are situations where upbringing does play a massive part. Because if you're brought up in a family where there's some mums, dads are crack addicts, drug addicts, the kids ain't going to be brought up the right way. And then obviously education does play a massive part as well, if they can get to that stage. Because sometimes the family is that bad where the kids don't even make it to that stage.
100%. But let's go back to the theme though. Uneducated people do uneducated things. So yes, you're correct. So it goes back to their parents. What type of support did their parents have in order for them to succumb to what they succumb to? So can you understand? It's a vicious cycle. So how do we break this cycle? So there comes a point in our lives as well. And it's sad because even at times when I was trying to study for my degree in social science, and I was doing the DD 100, so it's understanding society. And there was a topic that it spoke about some rats. In my research here, rats. Okay. So they're all living in a pen together. So they've organized this in this way. So they're all playing peacefully with each other.
Yeah.
So when they press this buzzer, they all get electrocuted.
Okay.
So what the scientist done was he pressed this button and all the rats got electrocuted. Now, what do you think happened? The whole dynamics changed after that. What do you think the rats done?
Angry.
Yeah, but rather than them thinking that it's external forces,
they started blaming each other,
which created this problem in the first place, they started to blame each other. Yeah. So they started to pair up in different groups, and they started to fight against each other. It started to become barbaric. So they started to, this is our borough, that's your borough. Then some would go over, try to even grab one of the women from the boroughs or try to kill one of them and so forth, and it was back and forth. And if you look at us as a community as well, exactly what we do as well. Sometimes there's forces that are a lot bigger than us. But what do we end up doing? We end up blaming each other rather than saying that, wait, there's situations that way beyond. There's other sinister forces that are at work here. But rather than actually see that, it's just quite easy to blame each other.
Yeah. No, that definitely makes sense.
And it's absolutely, it's heart-rendering and it's absolutely crazy. But it's about, awakening people's minds as well. And also, the most important thing is working on yourself. Because we like to blame everybody sometimes. We're a nation of blamers, I like to say.
Apart from ourselves, we never blame ourselves.
That's right. And again, I've spent some years as well, even myself as well, blaming it on this, blaming it on that, but not really looking within myself. And Islam gave me that opportunity because when I started to practice my faith, and that was by another amazing brother by the name of Saf in 2004 when I started to really pray and understand my faith. One thing that it actually teaches us is accountability. So let's go forward. So I'm released now.
This is from the first thing though, yeah?
Yeah. So I'm released. I'm out. I feel that there's a lack of opportunities. I feel that society has condemned me. This is how I'm feeling as an 18-year-old. So I said, okay, let me go back to what I know best, what I felt I knew best. But remember, we're fledglings. What do we really know about life? We're 18-year-old. People tell you stories like, again, when I was this age, I done this and I done that. Yes, for our age, we had a certain amount of money, but we weren't millionaires. None of us. What have you got to show for it now? It's nothing. It's irrelevant. And you realize this once you're back in incarceration.
And you've just spent 5 years inside as well.
That's correct. So the whole dynamics have changed. So now you're trying to, we call it, you're trying to play catch up. So let's go to the night of the incident. So a friend at the time, he calls me. He tells me that, we're going to say, these individuals are doing illegal activities. So at the time as well, we were robbing individuals.
Yep.
And, for me now, looking back, I'll be honest with you, it's a disgusting attribute. Irrespectively, whether you classify them as criminals or not, because how we justify it, because remember, it comes back to justification. That's how you condition the mind to do what you sometimes do, is by saying that, yeah, but they do what we do.
Yeah.
Now it's become a spaghetti western. Who draws first wins. So you're thinking that, No, I'm in my rights then, because they're just a criminals just like me, not knowing that you don't know what they've gone through in their lives.
It's like it's okay to rob the drug dealer.
So anyway, we go to the premises, and what I do next is totally unacceptable. But at the time, I just felt that we had a rule, and I know that it's going to alarm some of your viewers. And it was... It was a disgusting philosophy that we had. And it was that once you show your gun, you use it. What's the point of waving it around? So when I demanded, I said, look, I know what you have. He tried to give me an envelope. I said, you know I haven't come for that. I said, you know, so I'm going to ask you one more time. Maybe he underestimated us because we were young at the time. So I produced my gun and I shot him, and I shot the other gentleman that was with him as well. So that's what we done.
Where did you shoot him?
So I shot in various places.
Did you get what you went there for?
No. And that's supposed to be the objective.
Wow.
See, that's how ridiculous we are. This is how demonic we can become, and how polluted our minds become as well. You actually forgot the objective of what you went there for now. Now it's a thing like, well, he didn't listen, so I'm going to teach him a lesson. Look at the mentality. Look at the mindset. Look at the sickness.
So you went there to collect, I'm guessing it was, what was it, money?
Yeah, these people are doing illegal activities.
So you went to go get some money, let's say, and you didn't even get what you went there for? Mad.
That's right. Now, what's so crazy at the time, which now makes sense, police were there in less than a minute. Wow. Now, but the story, the plot is going to thicken. But I managed to get away.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, managed to get away at that time. But because of my actions, other innocent people were pulled in, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And one of them was a friend's sister. She had nothing to do with it. I can honestly put my hand on my heart and say that. But do you know the thing is, and I have respect for her though, even though she had all that immense pressure, because they were threatening to take her children and everything else as well, that she still didn't mention no names. But the person that I was with at that time actually gave in a statement against me. And he was the one that called me. Remember this, I was okay. I came to help him. Which I never knew at the time was that he was a police informant. So now looking back in my life, and this is why young people have to be careful as well, that you may think this person is your friend, you may think this person is airtight, but the reality of the situation, you don't know. Because once you've made a deal with the devil, but I don't blame him, I blame myself. Everything that I do, everything that I've done in my life is no one else's fault. It's mine. Because I chose to be around that person, even though that at times there was suspicion, even though there was times that there was many people saying I don't trust him.
It was a police informant. So you was
look, so think about it. So a shooting occurs, I've handed myself in. This person has handed himself in. Now, we know there's many innocent young people are getting done on joint enterprise irrespectively.
Yeah.
Even though I exonerated everybody because I was the one that pulled the trigger. So I'm not even trying to do no historical stuff here by saying that, no, he was innocent in that sense. But what they were doing, especially in our times as well, as joint enterprise, it didn't matter.
Everyone was getting joint enterprise.
Yeah. Once you're there with him, you're culpable as well.
Yeah.
But he didn't spend one single day or hour.
For real?
Yeah, it was just me. But I handed myself in, so I'm happy with that.
Yeah, but still, he should have got, well, not should have, but he would have got done for joint enterprise.
Well, I will allow people to make their own judgment and assessment. So, yeah, that's what happened. And a lot of people were surprised with the sentence that I received, because you have to also remember a gun-related murder at that particular time was only 20 years. Remember, I think my victims never died. So you're talking about attempted murder, which then got reduced to 2 wounded with intent and possession of firearms and armed robbery. That's what. Now, what they actually done was they gave me discretionary life. And now I think back, why did they give me discretionary life? Because they used my first offence against me by the 2 strikes and you're out. But I was a minor, so that's not supposed to be included. But they knew by keeping me because they believed that I've done a string of shootings and got away with it. So that was the only opportunity now that I'm putting my hands up and saying that, yeah, I did commit this offence. So there was a lot of things going on. So now I'm not understanding the magnitude of it still. I'm thinking 7 years. I'm happy with that, 7 years. I'm gonna come out and I'm going to continue to do what I'm doing.
Yeah.
There is no way. I said, actually, I'm gonna teach people a lesson. I'm gonna do this. Yeah, it's time for reflection. Not knowing that, no, your recommendation is 7, my friend. It doesn't mean you're coming out at 7. You've got 99 years.
So explain that to the viewers watching what that actually means, the whole thing.
Yeah.
So
what actually happened, this was before the IPP. So I know a lot of people are aware of the IPP, but this was a system that was imposed before that, which was called 2 strikes and you're out.
Okay.
Or the judge will call it a discretionary life sentence. So they say that you could commit an offence and it could be so heinous that the judge can automatically impose a life sentence upon you. So this is what I actually received. A 2 strike and you're out. But how they're supposed to justify the 2 strikes and you're out is that as an adult, you're supposed to, because this law was introduced in, I think it was 97. So you're basically, they are supposed to, it's supposed to merit once you're an adult, so 18 and above, if you've committed a violent offence, and then you're liable to receive your life sentence if you commit another.
Yeah, from 18.
Yes, but my case weren't, because even if you want to go back to my convictions, my conviction was 15 years of age. So I'm still a minor.
Yeah. So
that shouldn't have
played a part in your 2 strikes and you're out kind of thing.
That's correct. But they done this anyway, and then they came off with the discretionary life, and the judge can still impose a life sentence. I had no pre-sentence report. I had nothing.
So what it means as well is they give you a recommended of X amount.
Yeah, so they give you a recommendation. So they gave me a recommendation of 7.
Okay. So that
and
means
that ended up doing 22 years and 3 months.
Regarding the recommendation, that means minimum basically.
Yes, that's
so
minimum.
minimum 7.
That's correct. Yes.
Maximum's 99.
That's correct.
And you done 22.
I done 22.
Was that based on behaviour or based on just the police system being shit?
Yeah, of course. There was a combination of both. A combination of my behaviour in my early stages, and you have to also understand, I was a young man that played by my own rules. So it was very difficult for me to adjust into a system now that it's basically giving me structure, in the sense of, you can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Now, at that time as well, it was very difficult because a lot of the officers at that time were military trained. So they went by a different discipline as well. Like, you walk around the yard a certain way, you tuck in your shirt. I'm a person like, you can't tell me what to do. So obviously, we'll straighten you out one way or another. We'll beat it out of you. That's what they thought. But then my natural resistance. So yeah, I spent so what actually happened is I went into the system. I went back as a young offender because I was still only 20 years of age when I committed that offence.
Yeah.
So I went into Feltham, and for me, I never took the magnitude of it, even when I was on remand, because it just seemed like it was like a playground at that time, because I had 9 other cousins
inside with you
that arrived at Feltham at that time, and they had all their co-defendants.
Yeah, so it's like
for different crimes and so forth. So it was just like catching up on the latest stories, who's doing what, then meeting up with other, let's be honest, dysfunctional young people as well, and plotting and planning, and not understanding that Allah's the best of planners. And then eventually causing so much disruption to Feltham that they said, we need them out of here.
So there must have been about 20 of you in total, no?
There was a lot of us, but all different crimes. People here for different, and then they done, you know, they done the operation. A lot of people from my area, the Battersea area. Then you had Brixton, you had Stockwell, you had all these types of areas. Everybody's in. People know each other. They're interconnected and so forth. So it was just like one big playground. And then a situation happened where they just said that we've just had enough. Because as soon as I got there. So the situation occurred with me and my cousin. We was having a joint visit. We have the same surname. So I had 4 cousins that had the same surname as me that was there. And, you know, being young, being very angry as well, I observed that there was another young man that was observing me. He was like a red band. And he was a lot bigger because I was boxing at 11 stone. So obviously he probably fancied these chances, not understanding that, you know, I've been having a lot of bouts. I've been up and down the country boxing. And he was looking at me, and me being who I am as well, I said to him, who are you looking at?
Yeah.
He saw that as a green light, and he probably felt comfortable because he was a lot bigger than me, and he threw down his stick and he said, and then unfortunately, it never worked out well for him. So the officer at that time blew the whistle. And
This is during the visiting?
No, this is heading towards the visit.
Okay, yeah.
So you're walking through like passages, like it's how the layout of Feltham is. Like there's corridors and you're going through, and you know, you've got the red band, you've got the cleaner and so forth. So now they said they're terminating our visit. Obviously, incidents occurred. So we're going back. But my cousin is still arguing with them. So I've gone on to one. It's like there's partridge and quail, I think they're opposite each other. And then the bell goes off. And it was weird. It was just instinctively, I just felt that, I just knew it was my cousin. And I said, I hope that's not my cousin, you know. There's going to be problems. And they said, no, it's not your cousin. But it was. They were restraining him. So he must, from my understanding, from what I heard, this is what I got told by the source, that he was still arguing with them. They decided, because especially in those times there was no nonsense, they jumped on him, but not anticipating that there was one of the sides side of the wing, so there's 2 spurs. They were having their association, and there was friends there. So when they saw that my cousin was being restrained, they ran over, and then all hell broke loose. The officers got injured. So now it's like, we've gone this far, we might as well go all the way out. So they started to open up other inmates and so forth. So there's a full riot situation now. Now, how they justified when the tornado team, they called them the Muftis, came, how they justified the moving me now is because they heard, oh, let's get Patterson out. So that's their justification for. But I'm saying that, what Patterson?
Yeah.
Remember, there's 4 of us that's got the same surname. So what Patterson are you talking about? So anyway, one day I'm in my cell. The door flies open. They come with the shields, helmets. You know, I'm gone. That's it. They've put me onto the van to Chelmsford. So I go to Chelmsford. Initially, it was like, we're not taking the magnitude of all this seriously. So it was like a party still, because as soon as they put me on the youth side, so I think at the time it was C-Wing or something like this, it was the youth. And I had like a hero's welcome. Like, because obviously, you know, news travels fast and wide. So it's like, you know, guys are coming out, giving me canteen, everything. And they're thinking, no, we're not having this. Well, he's 20 anyway. We can just put him over to the adult side. So I went over to the adults. They said, no, you're not staying here on this youth side. So they put me to the adult side. And you have to understand how the system used to work. Before, they always used to have individuals who the officers relied on. They usually will be kind of like gym guys that are very muscle bound, and they do favors for the officers, and the officers turn a blind eye to whatever misdeeds they're doing. So one gentleman, he came to me and he said, oh, something like, boy, this is like, he said something like, boy, this is the adults, you can't be doing this now. But boy, first and foremost is you don't call a black person a boy. I'm not saying that he was racist. Could that be wrong? I'll be deceiving the viewers. But you have to understand the historical content of this as well. Don't call a black person a boy.
Yeah.
So
furthermore, don't call me boy at all, kind of thing.
Yeah, but it's just the way he went, like all this kind of intimidation. So they thought that they can have him to keep me in line, keep me in check, because now I'm in the adult side. And unfortunate for him, it never worked out well for him.
What happened? You can't tell us half the story. You can't just say it didn't work out well for him.
No, I do this because sometimes young people are watching this and they get in, sometimes people get excited. I call it trauma porn. So they like all the blood and the guts, the sword and the sandals, and it's like, yeah, so that's what happens, and they think that they could probably relive that kind of experience and not knowing that it will go wrong for you.
Yeah.
It was just my story, but yes, I engaged with him in hand-to-hand combat and he lost. So now they're loggerheads. Wait there, this is the person that's supposed to keep them in line. Now they're not. Our generation was different. We weren't playing to the rule book. So now they have a problem. And that continued. So what happened was they then shipped me out to, I think it was Belmarsh. And then from there, on my remand, I was moved so many times.
What was the worst jail you ever been in?
We'll get to that. But I was moved on remand alone. So that year, like I must have went like 3 times Belmarsh, twice Wandsworth, twice Scrubs, Pentonville twice. I just kept on moving. They just kept on moving me.
Yeah, but
At
you
times,
was causing a lot of trouble.
Yeah, of course. I'm not gonna say that I'm innocent in this. Yes, of course. I was engaging with hand-to-hand combat with other residents, and then I was fighting against with prison guards and so forth. So obviously, sometimes I'm being caught, and then I'm thinking, how comes I'm not on the van as well? They're saying, oh, that prison doesn't want you. This prison doesn't want you. That prison doesn't want you. So where am I gonna go? We don't know. We're trying to find out. So this happened, and it just kept on going. Let's kind of fast forward it now. So now, now I'm convicted. So now I'm starting to understand the magnitude of weight there. Okay, I may not go home after 7 years, but I have another case. I have a bank robbery.
You had another case ongoing while inside?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is a bank robbery that occurred, and I got 7 years concurrent to go with my life sentence. There's nothing that they could. What they tried to do though, they tried to slyly say that I had a gun. So by having that, they could have put more consec onto my tariff already, but they couldn't prove that I had a gun. So this is what they said. So one day I was with my co-defendant for this, and then my mom said, oh, I don't think I'll be able to make it today. And like a lot of the family, people work and so forth. So I said to my friend, I think this is the opportunity, So we made a plan. Like, let's escape. Let's do what a particular individual done as well. He escaped from the Old Baileys and jumped out the window and so forth. Let's try to recreate that. Little did I know that our parents turned up and they were upstairs. So at first I was in two minds. I was like, but then already my friend just jumped over. It was just, and this time it weren't like there was like a pan, like perspex, or like there's a panel glassware that is blocking you from that. We just jumped over and we just ran through.
So you done? You escaped?
Yeah, no, wait. So as soon as we went through, everyone was just focused on me. They all just jumped on me, like the jailers and people that were around. I think they were undercovers or whatever. They just all jumped on me. So I'm suffocating now, because you have to also understand that the magnitude and the pressure of so many people on top of you, and so I'm not breathing. But my friend could have made it out. He turned back and he helped me. Now I'm angry. Now I've got my shirt ripped, everything's ripped, and then I ran back into the crowd and just started to throw punches. So after a while, I'm thinking, this is not helping. This is mass people. So I thought, let me do this window, go into one of the rooms and jump out a window.
Again.
This is what I'm thinking. Let me try this. Yeah, like what this other gentleman done. Like, you know, historically, this gentleman done that. Let me try to imitate that. I'll never forget this. So I ran into a room, and it was a room where there was all like these police officers drinking their tea and then I just got swept up. Yeah, definitely, I just got bent up. But
wrong room to run into.
Yeah, I had this resistance though that doesn't matter. You don't stop. Like it was like some old school villains who always used to say to me as well, son, I can't tell you what to do, but make sure, or you lose all credibility, that when they restrain you, never scream, and you don't comply. So so they've got me on the floor, and I'll never forget this because my friend's got a very calm voice as well, and it's embarrassing now. I'm thinking that I should have just walked. They like hog-tied me, and they're carrying me now. And like my friend's shouting, he's going like, Dwaine, it's over, bro. Just give up. It's over.
And you're not.
We tried. It didn't work. Like the way that he's got that kind of voice, like it's just slow, is methodic. It's just
so relaxed.
Yeah, it's just, and I'm like, no, never. And then eventually, one jailer just said, you know what? On that day, he said, I quit.
Swear to God. You made one guy just say, enough, I'm done with this guy.
I got back now. They're waiting for me. I forgot what establishment I was in. What establishment was it? I think it might have been Belmarsh. I think it was Belmarsh. So obviously I'm on stripes now. And so this continued for a while until, let's fast forward this. So how I started to slowly change my kind of way of thinking and mentality was when I was in Scrubs. They used to have a long-termers wing, a lifer wing. It was D wing. It was D wing. And again, story of my life. I had an incident with the gym officer, which I hurt him quite bad. And then I was in a seg. But the governor, her name was Miss Actor at the time. And I think she found me quite amusing, being young and so, because I was never disrespectful though. It's just that if I felt I was being disrespected, that I would react in a
aggressive manner.
Yeah, in a unsavory. You know, it was. So she was still working. Like she was saying that, okay, you're gonna go to the seg, but what they were actually doing though, from the segregation, they would allow me to go education. And that's where I met the head of the education department in Scrubs at that time. I think she still works there, Angela. So thank you, Angela. She was a true believer on social reform. And she would get me to read avalanche of different books. So I would read everything from the Count of Monte Cristo, from Crime and Punishment, from, I just indulged in. And what she would actually do as well, she said that, look, you're highly intelligent, but I've noticed because you've not enhanced your mind as well, you've now become very primitive in your kind of way of thinking. You talk in slangs. That's all good that you can do that within your peers, but when you're dealing in a professional setting, you need to be able to articulate yourself and carry yourself a certain way. So she said to me that here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you a word every day. Mm-hmm. And you study this word and you come back. And then she allowed me to do presentations. So I'd have to stand up in front of a group of people and on whatever topic that she decides. And so now I'm starting to have the first four: education again, reading, my love of reading and so forth. But then there's still the elephant in the room, and that is my temper.
Yeah.
So I think the straw that broke the camel's back there was obviously there were some officers that were still a bit upset that the gym officer got injured. So obviously, so on the visit, you tend to have an hour. They tried to give me half an hour, knowing that's going to provoke me.
Yeah.
So then obviously an incident happened on the visit. Now, that's it. So the governor she can't really save me anymore now, too many incidences, violence against officers. So when I was in the seg waiting to get shipped out, she said, do you mind going to a therapeutic community called Dovegate? At that time, I didn't really care. I just said, yeah, whatever. And then eventually I got shipped out. And then what I signed, I eventually went to Dovegate. But even then, I was having problems. And then eventually I got kicked out. I had an incident with operations manager and he got injured. And then now and then I entered the high security estate. Now the whole dynamics was different. Now you're having the creme de la creme. Now you're having guys that have been doing this for many years and guys that are living gladiators.
Yeah.
This is sword and sandals. This is blood and guts. These are individuals that have been hardened. These are guys that I've read about. These are guys that I've heard about. But the thing that I didn't like as well, at the time, the Muslim population was very small. And I found that it was quite demoralizing. It was quite atrocious what was actually happening to this many individuals that weren't as strong. They would actually be violated as well. So what we're talking about violation is that guys themselves would go into their cells and make sure that they strip search them. So you're having other inmates strip searching other inmates, saying that, would you have on you? So bullying was kind of rife.
Bruh.
Gang warfare was rife. So obviously, being our faith, our understanding of our faith as well, and individuals that wanted to embrace Islam, we were saying that, look, we don't care what you lot want to do elsewhere, but if it comes to harming those that want to be left alone or harming our brothers, then we're not going to tolerate that anymore.
Yeah.
And so that's when the whole dynamics actually changed.
What prison was this?
This was in Whitemore. No.
In where?
Whitemore in Cambridge.
Okay.
So that's one of the dispersals. So you have like Whitemore, Long Larton, Full Sutton, and you also have Franklin. These are the kind of and then you have Wakefield, and then you have some other A-cat prisons. Like there's one in Manchester what they used to call Strange Ways. You have
and these are the worst prisons.
Yeah, they would say that. That's where the creme de la creme. So what actually? Yeah. So from there, this is exactly what happened. But what started to occur as well, as you're aware, that the media started on regards to there was incidences that were happening outside and it was reflecting back in prison. So what they said was, would-be bombers are coming in prison, individuals that are in prison for whatever reasons they're in prison. So there was a lot of guys that were unhappy with this. And they were like, no, we want to hurt them. And we're saying that with all due respect as well, once a man's been convicted, then the law has already, they've already served their justice.
It's done its part.
Yeah, what gives you the right? And not only that as well, there's hypocrisy here. Because, let's be honest, I was there when the IRA and some of you even classified them as being heroes as well. I'm not saying right or wrong. I'm just saying it how it is.
Of course, yeah.
Some of you were even listening to their, to their tunes of freedom. And I understand that they have every right. If you honestly believe that your country is being attacked, you have every right to defend you.
Yeah.
Say, oh, it's different and there's this and that. But, okay. Putting explosive in a car outside a rave, how is that different?
Yeah.
So I was thinking that this is more to do with race more than anything else, because you don't have that same energy. That's the way that I was looking at things. So then, you know, the officers started to come in with, oh, well, we believe that there's a gang emerging. It's called the Muslim Boy Gang. And then this is where major problems started to occur. Now, what I say to individuals as well is that how this whole situation escalated, because there was always skirmishes between groups. There was always, but when it became a major, you could say a major incident, was from two non-Muslims. This is what a lot of people don't understand.
Really?
Two non-Muslims actually triggered this whole thing. Two non-Muslims. So there was one individual that was a gifted boxer. He was from the north of the country. There was another individual that was from the south of the country, so from London. He was a friend of a Muslim. And we don't, you know, with what my teachings of Islam is as well, is that we're all sons of Adam.
Yeah.
So it says that if you take a life of a person unjustly, you've taken the whole of humanity's life. We take this very seriously. So they decided that they never liked each other. They had some kind of argument. So they decided that they wanted to resolve it by that way, by that means, by hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah.
By all means. If that's what you both agreed upon, and that's what you want to do. And I think that the boxer felt quite confident because he was a lot bigger than the other gentleman. But when they went into the cell and they started to engage in their battle, he was not dominating as he felt that he should be.
The boxer?
Yes.
Yeah.
So his friend then said to one of my brothers that, oh, you know, we're going to go in there. We're going to do him over. And my friend saying, no, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And he's saying, but he's not a Muslim.
It doesn't matter.
He said, it doesn't matter. One thing is honor, is respect. They've both agreed upon something. It's not going to happen. So they ended up arguing. So what actually happened is they started to fight.
One of your people?
Yeah, one of my brothers and this gentleman's friend. They started to fight. So anyway, things got broken up and so forth. So what they done was, in the meantime, they started to send notes to each other from different wings, stating that, yeah, he's going to be in the gym on a Saturday. So let's go on a Saturday and we're going to do him over. So
one of your brothers?
Yeah, this is one of my brothers. So the one that had the fight.
Yeah.
So there was about 9 of them. So they went to the gym. You know, they had whatever they had on them, went to the gym looking to hurt this brother, but they're not knowing that they picked the wrong day and it's a bad day for them. Because on that day, most of the gym is all Muslim. So when they stepped in and they went towards that brother...
It's a long day.
That's correct. The door closed, and unfortunately for them, every possible thing that you can probably imagine that's in that gym room. And the officers were powerless to do anything until it was over. So what actually happened, they took them to the SEG. They then transferred them to Franklin. When they were in Franklin, they spin a narrative. So what they said to the guys that were there, to the other Caucasian guys, the guys up north, there, oh, you know, the Muslims beat us up and so forth. So obviously, your natural reaction is going to be, oh, so is that the case? So is that what they're doing over there? Then we'll do it up here. So what did they do? The brothers were small in numbers in Franklin. So we have to speak the truth, even if it's against ourselves. Yeah. They beat up the brothers. It was an unpleasant experience for the brothers that were there. So it spread like wildfire. So now the brothers are, obviously, all the high security estates are hearing about this now. They're upset. So then the brothers started to put in applications. We want to go Franklin.
Yeah.
So now it's like, okay, so is this how you want to play? You want to play by these rules? And then that's the whole history. See, a lot of people don't know. People are talking about this and that. Oh yeah, the Muslims are a gang. The Muslims are this. But what's a gang? A gang is a group of people.
Yeah.
You tend to gravitate to people that you can relate to, that are relatable to you. So as Muslims, as brothers, obviously we're relatable to each other. We try to help each other. Yeah. They say, oh yeah, but Muslims tell us to turn off music at a certain time. No, that was always a rule. When I first went into the dispersal system, a man came and said, look, son, we have different rules here. I said, okay, what are they? He says, after like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, we turn down our music and things such as this. So you respect that because these are long termers and so forth. So there's always been a rule, but then people exaggerate and they make out to be like it's something else. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, definitely.
Like, oh yeah, it's I'm not saying that people haven't used, because we know that in the past people have come onto podcasts and said that, yeah, I was only using Islam. Oh, I didn't really respect Islam and so forth. So they are correct in saying that a lot of individuals were pretending. This is true.
For protection.
But those that were sincere, so what happened was, eventually they done an operation. So they were given powers that they believed that there was 10 individuals that were causing the most disruption within the prison, the high security estate. My name got mentioned as one of them. So an incident happened which actually gave them more authority in order for them to implement what they implemented on me. A person's throat got cut after Jummah service. They accused me of doing it, even though I had 109 witnesses to prove that it weren't me. And even the person that actually done it handed himself in, saying that I done this. Said, nah, we don't want you. We want Patterson.
Serious?
101%.
Wow. So
this is how deep it goes. They ignored the Imam. The Imam was right next to the Imam. They said, no, we've got him. This is what they were excited. They said, we've got him because he's got airborne blood. But we're in close proximity. 70 people, even the Imam, had airborne blood on him. And I had it on my back. If I cut your throat, it's supposed to be in the front. So all these things were going on. It stemmed back a bit further from another incident that happened with some officers, a group of officers, which eventually one of them got sacked. So we know this. This is why they've not made any big hoo-ha about it, because he got sacked because of his racism, his Islamophobia, and everything. He got sacked, he got fired. And now he's suing the prison system himself.
For real?
Yeah. So all these things were happening. So what they decided to do anyway, so when this incident happened, they came for me. They put me down the seg. Yep. Then I realized that all these doors are being open. They started to collect all the brothers and start putting them all in the segs, filling up the segs. Then vans were turning up and they were putting people on vans and shipping them out all around the country. Now they said, you've been promoted, Patterson. So what are you talking about?
Been promoted.
They said, you're on the CSC.
What is it you got promoted for?
Yeah, so he was talking about the CSC. So that's the Close Supervision Center. So the only way that I can describe it for you so you can have a clear understanding is what Charles Bronson is on. Yeah, so that's what I was on. And so what they tend to do as well, that they have their own assessment. So you'd have a psychologist, they would assess that whether you fit that criteria, and then basically through that criteria, then they will send all the paperwork to Wood Hill, because that was the mothership at the time, and then they would give you further assessment to see whether you fit the criteria or not. So anyway, I was eventually admitted into Wood Hill, CSE. Now the thing was as well, they put me on the highest. So I was on a 7-man full PPE kit. So that is protective gear. So the shields, the helmets.
Yeah, they weren't playing about with you.
I was double hatched. So handcuffed and then handcuffed on the officer. I had a dog handler. I had a 7-man team with a dog handler as well. When I arrived there, at the time, I know they've made lots of changes due to Kevin Thackeray's family and so forth. But I wasn't allowed anything in my cell at that particular moment in time. So I couldn't even have a toothbrush. I couldn't have my trainers. I couldn't have anything. They gave me clothing which was 2 sizes smaller. And what they've actually said to me about this is that this is what they do in military prisons. that they will make you feel self-conscious about yourself when you have sizes, things don't fit. And there's lots of units for CSC. There's lots of units, or they put you in the seg. So the seg is segregation, the block. And they just keep on moving you around, rotating it that way. And then you have to earn everything. Like, so I earned my pencil, my pen, a book. But you have to also remember, because they don't like me, because I'm now considered to be a terrorist, now the game has changed. So there was one particular officer that had a great disliking to me. So he was in the war and he lost a lot of his comrades, and he felt that I was responsible for this. So again, a situation happened. I had an altercation whilst on the unit, everything taken away from me. And that's another court case. So I had all 3 court cases going back to back. And this continued. I had 3 court cases going back to back for over 3.5 years. I had 3 retrials. It was crazy. The judge threw this out and said, what kind of silliness is this? And the Crown Prosecution Service and the prison service took me to the appeal courts. They appealed it, took me to the appeal courts and got it overturned. And I was back in court again fighting for it.
They appealed it?
Yeah, they appealed it. So all these things were happening. They said that I was so toxic that at one stage they wouldn't even allow me to have a next door neighbor. They wouldn't even allow one officer to be on the yard with me in case I influenced. They said I had a lot of influence. So yeah, it was very difficult. And sometimes people, individuals have always asked me, how did you get through all this? And I say there was 4 aspects. Belief in Allah, family and friends.
Was you even allowed visits at this point?
Yeah.
You was?
After 2 years, I had my first visit.
After 2 years?
After 2 years, I had the first visit, but it's different how they situate it. So depending on what your unlock level is, will determine on how many officers, like you have your visit and it will be all surrounding the table. So yeah, the four things that kept me going was belief in Allah, my family and friends, patience, and discipline. And so what do I mean by this? When I say belief in Allah, because one thing that we believe, especially as Muslims as well, that Allah never given us a burden greater than what we can bear. When I talk about family and friends, united we stand and divided we fall. When I talk about peace, a peace of mind is obtained by being patient. And when I say discipline, is the world is a teacher to the wise man and the enemy to the fool. So this is what actually kept me, these were the steps that actually kept me going. Even though times were hard, and because they had a real disliking to me, they ripped my Quran. And these are some of the things that I wanted to really point out as well. That I understand that sometimes people make mistakes and so forth, but what is actually occurring there is totally unacceptable. Let's use one person for example. So his name is Abdul Rahim Marcus Johnson, also known as Chaos. He hasn't had, and you have to remember this, in prison as well, if you've not had a disciplinary record against you, then you're considered to be a model prisoner. He's not had a disciplinary hearing since 2006, but he's still on units and seg, and we're in 2024. Tell me, how is this justified? Every time he's posed a question, or his legal team poses the question, they said, Intel, we can't tell you, security. How do they justify this? So what they tend to do as well, they go by either numbers or letters, A, B or C, or 1, 2 and 3. So if it's coming from an officer, then that means that it's authentic. Mm-hmm. It's the truth. But we know that there's cases where that officers have been convicted for corruptions and so forth. And what you will find as well, let's say that you got 100 SIR, security incident reports. Sometimes it could, those 100 could be coming from 1 or 2 officers. Then you know that they have a personal vendetta against that person. But everyone just ignores this. Mm-hmm. So this is what individuals are actually happening. what's actually happening to certain individuals is so horrific. One of the things that I found the most alarming was this. They disliked a brother so much, a Muslim, so much, that they accused him, even though he doesn't smoke, he doesn't partake in any type of drugs, and especially where he's in the seg, of concealing contrabands. So what did they do? They pinned him down, they cut off his clothes, an officer got a gloves and pushed his hands to his let's say his rectum. A sexual assault, because you're supposed to have a doctor there present as well. And how do you justify this? So these are the kind of treatments that were merited out, and sometimes people don't care. Because one of the arguments are, people are saying that, well, they're criminals, you deserve whatever you get. But I say that in life as well, we all need to reflect within ourselves as well and ask ourselves this question: Are we truthfully honest to ourselves? For example, you say that drug dealers should be lined up against the wall and shot. But let me explain to you how you've actually created these individuals in the first place as well. When you're having your parties and get-togethers, and now you want a bit of sniff, who do you call? You call your local drug supplier. But now you're condemning that same person, the one that's bringing you your drugs, your enjoyment. You can't have it two ways. Yeah. Or you want a Canada Goose. You know they're over £1,000, but now you can get on knockoff prices for 500. Have you ever asked yourself as well, where's this person got that jacket from in the first place? But no, it's okay, because you've ostracized yourself away from that problem. You stick your head in the sand thinking that the problem is going to go away. No, you've contributed to the destruction of society. So we need to all have honest opinions to ourselves and pose that question. So anyway, this happened for many years. I was found not guilty for 2 offences. So the one where the gentleman got his throat cut, and the other one where a few officers got injured. But the one that basically happened on the unit itself, I was found guilty. And I was only found guilty because the judge gave them direction saying that my actions resulted in the injuries of others, even though that my ribs were fractured and everything else, because they were hitting me with batons and everything else. Obviously, I accept all that. My change came about in those times because you have so much time to reflect.
How many years in was this?
So when I went into solitary confinement, I was already 10 years in.
Okay.
So I went in 2010.
And you spent how many years inside? Solitary confinement? Solitary
confinement, just under 7 years. So I came out in December 2016. December 2016.
And your change happened at what point? How many years into solitary?
To be fair though, my change was slightly before that, because I was actually innocent for what I was being accused of. So they did consider me as a model prisoner.
While in solitary confinement?
Yeah, so whilst I was in solitary confinement, eventually in solitary confinement, they've got stages. So what tends to happen is that slowly they try to prepare you for going back eventually onto the wings. So eventually I went onto one of the units, which was basically Full Sutton, which was a pathway out. So they're preparing you to going back onto the wings. And I done my time there, and it was crazy. The whole kind of process as well it's like a parole hearing, even to come off of there. So you have all these various different individuals from different departments, people from upper office, and they all need to tick yes, basically, and have their signature. And the process is so long. Even when you receive all the signatures and everything else as well, it's like a 3 months waiting, even though you're waiting to come off the unit. Once I came off the unit, obviously, they actually saw that when I was in Full Sutton, one of the ladies, she was a custodial manager. She was higher up ranking officer. She called me and she said, "Mr. Patterson, you know that since you've been in solitary, you know that the system has changed. There's a lot of young kids and there's young officers. So if anyone gets on your nerves as well, could you please inform us first?" I said, "Look, excuse me, miss, I have no intentions of causing any kind of disruption within your prison system. I just want to be left alone
Yeah.
and I want to do my time. They recognized this, so they gave me roles such as being a prisoner council member. So I represented the rest of my peers, and I would sit with the governors and actually discuss better ways of how residents can be treated.
But where did
And
the change happen for you? Because obviously, something happen that changed you?
There's a few aspects. My faith. The more I read, the more I understood. It's something what a scholar said. He said this: the more I learn, the more I realize I know nothing.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So it was exactly the same. That's the same formula as well. Not only that as well, let's be honest, you're getting older.
Yeah.
Your levels of testosterone is actually lowering. You're starting to see things more from not a rigid perspective. I have a panoramic view. So I'm looking at and I'm analysing. I'm looking within my life as well and not being so judgmental, because Islam is teaching me this. Look, they're still human beings, irrespectively. Whether they're Muslim, whether they're non-Muslim, they're still human beings. There's better ways of communicating with people. And I found that it became very helpful. So the remaining parts until eventually, you know, I was given open conditions and so forth. I've always been given great roles, like violence reduction reps, listener. And this is the person that they were accusing of being extremist. But then the greatest shock of my life was when I was in open conditions. So eventually, two things. I had a parole hearing. Now, halfway through my parole hearing, I was asked to leave because there was information that I could not be privy to.
Okay.
My barrister had to sign to state that if anything leaks out, she's liable for imprisonment.
Wow.
So some of the things that they did show is that I was building underground cells to commit atrocities on the streets of Britain. That I had international links. I was given orders. I was manipulating gang members in order for them to carry out acts or generate money. They had so many different titles held against me, and it was very, very difficult. So what actually happened was, when I was in open conditions, this young lady, very well spoken and so forth, she introduced herself to me. She says, hello, Mr. Patterson. And straight away I'm thinking, what's this great secret? I've said, who are you? She says, I'm going to be taking over from probation. I said, okay, but who are you? Do you know the pleasantries now are gone? I want to know who you are. Like, what's this great secret? She says, yeah, we're National Security Division. You are now being admitted to us. I said, what, me? I'm not in for no terror-related incidents, no, but you're a person of interest. We've got concerns. And now you're going to... And then they just threw so many restrictions. So one of the restrictions was, eventually when I was released, I'm not allowed to enter a mosque.
You're not allowed to enter a mosque?
I wasn't allowed to enter a mosque until prior approval from them. And there was only a few that they would consider to be. Initially, I had to report every few hours. I had GPS. Anytime there was like the king's coronation and things like this, I had exclusion zones where I'm not allowed to go. I weren't allowed to be in big gatherings, or that's a breach of my license. I weren't allowed to do any public speaking, any types of talks.
No podcasts.
Yeah, direct or indirect. It's only about 2 months ago that they lifted all this. I had to go back to the parole board, appeal this, get this turned over, and now I'm conversing here. But the difficulty that people need to also understand as well, that they have a system in place, and the parole board is very hard for individuals to actually receive their parole because they have a thing called probability.
Yeah.
So even if you have been found not guilty in the courts of law, remember, you're being judged by your peers. The parole board can still say that we believe you've done that crime. Mm-hmm. So you're still being punished. How's the justice in that? So what about those that have actually said that they're innocent then? So what happens then? Were you going to take in consideration, you might be innocent? No, you're not going to say that. You're going to say you was guilty because you was found guilty in the courts of law. So these are the things that they were basically saying to me. And the thing that we have to be careful about as well, and how that I feel that sometimes young people are being unfairly treated, is I give you an example. There was a gentleman that I was with. He murdered his wife. He chopped her up in pieces and scattered her body all over the place.
Wow.
Now, how did they articulate this? Look at the concepts, what they use. They use crime of passion. So you're romanticizing straight calculated murder. It's premeditated murder.
Yeah.
But look how they wrote, and look what the judge said when the judge was giving him his sentence. You're a person of good character. How are you a person of good character? You deliberately done that. So you throttled your wife, you strangled her. That takes, even in jiu-jitsu, we understand that as well when you're looking. So that's taking you roughly about 4 minutes. So after about 10 seconds, your temper has subsided. So now you deliberately want to kill your wife. You chopped her up to hide what you've been doing. And what was his tariff? His tariff was only 12 years.
And they gave you...
But you've got to forget about me now. It's irrelevant because I committed my crime. Yeah, but you've got some kids as well that are scared to coming out of their particular estate. They carry a kitchen knife. We're not talking about zombie knives here. That's different because we know that you have to look for those things. We're talking about a kitchen knife. There's one kid, he's been stabbed already on 2 separate occasions. And then one day he fights back, he stabs the kid. I'm not justifying any death of no young child. But then what's he getting? 19, 20 years. Then you have another case, just quickly, you have another case as well, a young woman. So what has she done? So she stabbed her boyfriend multiple amount of times. She comes from a wealthy family. So she stabbed him multiple amount of times. Attempted murder. Now, what does the judge say to her? He says that I do not want to spoil your career because she was aiming to be a barrister. You come from a good family. So he gave her community service.
What?
You need to look these things up. See, a lot of people are unaware of this, but here's the crazy thing about this.
Community service.
Community service. But here's the crazy thing about this. Do you want me to tell you the biggest surprise? That's not even a surprise. She done it to her previous boyfriend as well.
No way. And got caught for it as well.
Yeah, obviously. Why we're talking about it now? So we understand that the criminal justice system is geared for only certain groups of people. So we need to be aware of this. And so this is why I always warn the young people as well, that sometimes you may, it's what my father and mother always taught me as well. It's not the mistakes that you have to worry about, but it's the consequences that come with that mistake. So that's what I will articulate. Of course it's shocking. It was shocking to me. When your mind is open and you start to become more receptive to a lot of things that are hidden from us, you start to realize that how unbiased things, how biased things are.
Yeah, that's not a joke though. That's a mad situation.
Of course it is. But look at us. We walk around like headless chickens, not understanding the whole dynamics. And we sometimes forget about those that are really suffering. So this is what I would actually say as well. If anybody finds any kind of peace and humanity in their hearts as well, please try to support what we're trying to do here. We're just trying to bring awareness.
And how can the viewers watching this bring awareness? How can they help? How can they reach? Have you got a platform for them to do that on? Yeah,
so I'm on my Instagram, Dwayne Patterson 3. I know you'll tag me.
Yeah.
Eventually. God willing. So
guys, if you do want to find his Instagram, scroll down to the description, hit the link in there. It will take you straight to his page as well.
Yeah, because what I'm actually trying to do is bring awareness, because you're right, we do sometimes become a nation of complainers. So what we do is we tend to point the negative. Look, I've met many great officers that have actually helped us. And if it weren't for them and their sacrifices, I wouldn't be in this position now. Mm-hmm. So there is. But they also need help as well. And what I'm actually saying is there's a few things. Firstly, accountability. In life, we're taught about accountability. So what we do, we are held accountable for. Yep. They also do as well. You can't be this invisible person that writes reports about people and then you can just sit back and say, oh, I was following orders. Yeah. This is what the Gestapo's actually said. that they was only following orders, but they still lined them up against the wall and shot them. So there's no excuses for this. Secondly, as well, that I also have a solution to the problem as well, but we need a platform. So going into, colleges, universities, that's going to be trainee, probation, psychologists, all these various different people, and giving them other alternative solutions. I've got, we've wrote out plans as well, what we believe that should be incorporated within the training program and practices of prison officers as well. Because it can be very difficult. It can be very challenging as well. But you still need to have the right mindset. And so, there's lots of things, but we need to have this opportunity. And sometimes, with a lot of us, it's an old boys club, so they don't give you that opportunity.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. But it's that story there regarding the woman alone. I'm sure you have plenty other stories. That's only one of them that's come to mind right now. But it makes you realise how much corruption there is in the system as well. Because I've heard stories myself about people with a lot of money, families got a lot of connections, people get let off with a lot of things. I heard about a story where the mum worked in she was a judge, and the Cody got 15 years and the son of the judge got 4 years, both in for the same crime. They were joint enterprise, they were Codys. And all because the mum was a judge. She knew the right people. She put a word in, that's my son, But there's a lot of corruption that we don't see about as well. And you bringing light to that, it's amazing.
Now, please, we just need a platform. It's very difficult as well because, let's be honest, many people are using our community. And when I say community as well, I'm just talking about humanitarians here as well. Yes, I am a Muslim, first and foremost, and one thing that we're taught, charity starts at home. So of course, definitely. But the thing is as well that many organizations now are using us as cash cows. They have no connection with our communities. They have no understanding of our communities, but they're making money off of our backs. They've been given massive grants and so forth, saying that we can do this and we can do that. And the reality of the situation is it's just going into their pockets. There's people that are suffering. Okay, a man's made a mistake in his life. So what are we saying as a society as well then? When people make mistakes, there's no second chance? Or this is what we're really saying. Is this really fair that there's individuals that are being suppressed, oppressed and depressed? This is not the society that I've always taught about. So let's make a difference. Let's be brave. Let's all get together and let's try to figure out a solution to a problem, or at least listen to what we've got and to actually support what I'm trying to achieve with many of the great brothers behind the scenes as well. Let's do this, because one day it may be you.
No, it's true. It could be. Listen, it could be anyone. It could be any one of these viewers as well in a situation where they're in a situation. Anything you want to say to the viewers? Last thing for you to finish on. Give a message to the younger generation. Look into the camera and give a message.
Do you know what I would actually say to you as well? See, I've always said to myself, sometimes advice is very difficult because we give advice accordingly to how we will deal with a situation or circumstances rather than what's best for that particular person. Everyone has individual needs, so I totally understand that. But what I would say is what I would repeat again. It's not for me to tell you how you should live your life, but to know that there's consequences. So it's not the mistakes that you have to worry about, but it's the consequence that comes with the mistakes. I understand that majority of you are probably just frightened, scared, and you need to defend yourself as well. But there is better ways. And the foundation, me, from a Muslim perspective, obviously I'm going to talk as a Muslim. So our foundation is God. Once you put your trust in God and you believe in God as well, then everything else becomes easy. The foundation you build. If you have a rocky foundation, then obviously everything that you try to build upon is going to crumble. So what I'd actually say to you as well is just pay attention, be disciplined, and there's always somebody there to help and look after you as well. And we are those people, those individuals. I love all of you. I may not even know you, but I love you. As a human being to another human being, and to my brothers and sisters as a Muslim to another Muslim. So please,
my brother, listen, it's been a pleasure having you on my show.
Thank you. Same to you, likewise.
If the viewers want it, we'll bring you back for part 2 where we can dive a little bit more into each situation in prison, out of prison, what put you in prison. Because today we've only heard probably 10% of your life.
Definitely.
We've ran through it all as quick as possible just to give the viewers something to watch and to let people know about what you're doing for the community. But if the viewers want you to come back on and to dive deeper into each situation, because there's been plenty of them,
Yes.
then we can do that also. Viewers, you know what to do. Best way for us to know is hit the like button, let us know. And like I said, if you want to view the platform he's creating, what he's doing for the community, scroll down. Description will be his Instagram. You're just on Instagram at the moment?
Yeah, that's correct. Yes.
Just
At this
Instagram?
particular moment in time, yes.
Scroll down, hit the Instagram. He's going to be tagged all over these clips anyway. But apart from that, my brother, thank you so much for coming on the show.
And
Look
thank
forward
you.
to seeing you again.
Yes.
Guys, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.